And here we are spawning in the upper right. In the blue. Recently of Jin Air, but now of NV. It is the one, the only, MARU. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red, Rikazi Gaming. Give it up for Solar. It appears that my tool has broke. That should not be happening. I apologize. So, you know, the whole benefit of doing this live is is that we can fix things. So I'm not sure what's happening there. My tool has broke in its entirety. So yeah, we're just gonna do it again. This time without. Yeah, my tool is broke in and of its entirety. So that is rather annoying. But we're gonna fix that. So going back to the beginning. Keep an eye on the fact that that actually happens at 9 minutes and 48 seconds. And here we are, spawning the bottom left. In the red, representing Rikazi Gaming. It's Solar. And his opponent in the upper right, in the blue, representing Team NV. It's MARU. And here we are, game number 1 of the ASUS of the ASUS ROG online tournament. It's MARU versus Solar from the group stages. And man, from everything I've heard, this was a great series. So I am excited to talk about it, to discover what has happened in this series amongst you all, because unfortunately, I think I missed actually this and the serial series that we will be doing after this. I think I missed this when it initially came out, when it initially happened live. So, yes, that not only do I get to watch it, but not only do I get to see it, but I get to talk about it with all of you. I get to talk about it, and I get to broadcast it. So that is always rather fun. I mean, it gives you when you're behind the camera, when you get this opportunity to actually kind of see whatever you want to see in the replay. You're not just relying on the whims of the observer or the caster in a game. You get a little bit more out of it. That is why it is so useful when the replay packs get released eventually, to see to actually just go dive into those replays, to see what their players are doing. As we do see 2 barracks coming out here as a start from MARU here. So it looks like he's going to want to go for a 2-1-1 behind this, but generally when you see 2-1-1, it is barracks, factory, barracks. So this may be even a little bit more aggressive than that. I'm interested to see what comes out of here, as we may just see a tech lab rather quick. But again, MARU, he does some interesting stuff. He likes his aggressive options, maybe a little bit less now than he used to. With his arm issues, with his shoulder issues, with the fact that he's not quite as young. I mean, he's still young. Right? He's like 21, I think, maybe 20. But he's been playing professional StarCraft for quite a while. There we have the tech lab on the way. So yeah, this is a variant of the 2-1-1. I think generally when I see this though, it is of course for a, or I should say with a, with barracks, factory, barracks. So this is going to hit a little bit faster. But of course you have that factory just a little bit later. So at the end of the day, you win some, you lose some. And with 3 Marines on the way, that doesn't mean any sort of aggression that Solar might decide to go on will be nipped in the bud. That being said, I mean, it doesn't look like he wants to go for anything here. 3rd base on the way, more and more drones coming out. And actually it looks like he took a rather delayed speed. So speed generally finishes at 330, but Solar is doing this thing that I've seen a couple Korean Zergs start to do now, where they don't go 3 out of 3 gas in the beginning. Most Zerg players, what they would do is they go say, okay, I'm 3 out of 3 gas at around 80, 88-ish, 76-ish gas, depending on the player. They're gonna pull 2 drones out, and they're gonna let 100 gas tick in on 1 out of 3. But what Solar is doing here, and what a couple of Zergs have realized, is that, in all honesty, most Terran aggression does not hit at 330. I mean, you do not need speed at 330. I mean, it feels nice to have fast lanes, of course. I mean, And as a Zerg player, I mean, as a Zerg player myself, it is pathologically nice to have the speedy Zerglings running across the map. It feels better from like a game perspective than to have slowlings. But if you can have 1 out of 3 and gas for maybe a little bit longer, that's extra drones that are mining minerals, which means you get more drones, which means you get more drones. And there's not a big difference between getting Zergling speed at 3 minutes and 30 seconds and Zergling speed at 4 minutes in the 9 out of 10 Terran builds. Now there are some that might be useful, and then you scout those, and you don't really adjust, you don't have time to, but that is useful, right? And now we do have a +1 attack here on the way. 2 medevacs coming on in, and with 16 Marines on the map, well, soon to be 16 Marines on the map. There we go, 15 Marines already here. MARU is going to get ready to move out with this 2-1-1, and now Solar has scouted this. We do have +1 Carapace on the way. This is kind of the new style of Zerg at this point, where you probably can't afford to get both upgrades and still get the mineral income that you want, but you can, however, get +1 Carapace, or you can get 1 upgrade. And when you're looking at a value proposition between +1 Carapace and +1 melee, man, in his EVT, +1 Carapace is so much more important. Marines fire so fast, and well, when you look at upgrades matter more when your opponent fires faster, because it is a flat damage reduction. When your opponent fires slower in big chunks, upgrades don't matter as much. That's why you won't get Carapace upgrades against Mech and against Protoss for the most part. Now, of course, we do have this 2-1-1, not getting a ton done yet. There are a couple queens, 1 queen in the main base, and that will ward everything off because while MARU only sees the 1 queen, he will be aware of the fact that, well, there's more where that came from. So he's going to do what he can, shove this Overlord back, remove some vision on the map, and maybe jump on top of these queens. But there are a lot of Zerglings here, and they're going to say, no, 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 back up. Do not hurt mommy. And that sounded weird. Don't hurt my queens. Solar's going to get on top of these things. +1 Carapace is just about done, but so is combat shields are done effectively. +1 rain or +1 attack here for the Terran, just about done as well. So we're now going to be in this position where MARU is going to lean into things as he's sitting here on 3 barracks. 3rd command is only just now getting started, but that's 6 minutes, so he wants to be rather committed here. So we have Banelings on the way, but man, Lair is only halfway done. It's a long time before Baneling speed comes on in. And Solar, he's going to be stuck on 3 bases for a bit. But again, when your opponent's on 2 bases, not the biggest of deals. And looks like we're going to have a tank push coming on in here. But the Zerglings, they're going to come filter on forward. But that is not enough. Actually, no, that is. The Massive Shrine here going to get on top of all of these Marines. But the tanks are going to target down the Banelings. However, nice hold there from our Zerg player, and he will be able to survive. Although now we're just going to see MARU. He's going to try to jump up and down, leapfrog the cliffs, and maybe get a queen. With the health of these units as they are, not really going to work out well for him, as most of his Marines were incredibly overstammed, sitting at about 5 HP each, and well, Zergling attacks do 5 or more damage, so it doesn't feel all that great. Now Solar, he smashed the push. He says, okay, now it is time to get my 4th base. Now it's time to get that 2nd Evo and really progress my upgrades as I would wish. But the big question here that we see from Solar is what in the world is he going to go from his lair tech? I mean, okay, so the 3rd command center, as an aside, 3rd command center is done. Just he'd go into actually just going to go land and then transform it into an orbital, make sure it mines as fast, or it's mining as quick as possible. But the big question here is, what does Solar go for his lair tech? Does he stick on just on pure Ling Bane? That is a valid solution. That is something that plenty of Zergs love to do, particularly players like Raynor. Does he go for a Spire? I mean, you would expect to see a Spire by now. He's only on 5 gas. So this 5 gas kind of makes you think that it might be Hydras, but we don't see a Hydra yet. And now we have this army stimming on the left and the right. Yeah, Solar's just going to give up that 4th base. He's going to take it in the other position. And there we go. So the 4th base will go down, and that is unfortunate. But now Baneling speed is here, and we're going to see Banelings roll in, and MARU cannot really stand out creep that much longer. But now we have a drop coming on in. Okay, there we go. And he won't be able to get a queen, and maybe pick up a couple Zerglings before being forced out. And this is what I was talking about earlier, right? When we were saying, oh yeah, what is Solar going to build? With the 5 gas, it very much looked like it's going to be Hydras, and that is what we see here, as we see the Hydra Din coming down. +2 Carapace, +1 melee on the way, and it feels like Solar, well, he has beaten a bunch of very good Terrans by going for that, going for the lurker style that Raynor has made so popular. And actually, the Widowmines, they're going to run in And all they're going to do is just do some damage on some queens and get one circling. So nice move there from Solar. Make sure everything does survive. Although he did have his Grand Carapace denied. He did have +2 denied there, and that is massive. Yes, he has 1-1, but MARU has 2-2 on the way. Granted, attack is in advance of armor, but I mean, in this case, when your opponent is not upgrading 2-2 at all, from an upgrade lead, from a position of an upgrade lead, it doesn't feel all that great. But now, okay, Solar, he has his 4th base done. Although MARU, he's got his 4th base on the way now as well. He's fully mining off of this 3 bases. Well, no gas yet, but really, I mean, Terran doesn't really need gas. I mean, you kind of get it because it feels nice and you may want it for upgrades, but Terran realistically doesn't need gas, but more importantly, he does need to get those queens, and to get those queens, he shall. Is there a drop? Okay, it looks like there was a Widowmine drop coming on into the natural. But, or actually, I think one of those Widowmines run in, but yeah, getting those 4 queens is massive. That hampers the creep spread of Solar so much. The defensive position of Solar so much here. Now, this drop, not really going to get a whole lot done. But hey, this is MARU. He is always attacking in 2 positions at once. Will not take a great trade there, but he's always attacking in 2 positions at once, perhaps even 3 because he's MARU. He has a lot of Widowmines, so this is something we've started to see with Pure, where you go and you build a lot more than one would expect from Widowmines. Even with Berserker's ability to split appropriately, you saw players like Yun, you see players like MARU, I mean, MARU's in this game, going for like 10, 11, 12 Widowmines, maybe even more. It forces the Zerg to be so careful, but not in this game. It's actually Solar, he's streaming forward. The army of MARU is not really there. I mean, yeah, this is just the entire army of the MARU has. So Zerglings and Hydras and everything are going to come crushing on in. It's just this powerful 1-1 timing. And yes, +2 attack is done, but upgrades don't really matter when your opponent just has that much more supply than you. Although, I mean, MARU's doing a great job of splitting against this. And the supplies are starting to equal, but I mean, these are a bunch of Hydras. Hydras do a ton of damage, and the SCVs will be forced to be pulled here as MARU. He's trying to do what he can to hold. And a couple of, well, those are not Marines. Those are Marines from Solar. So what am I just going to go off and kill a Hydra, damage a couple more. But now Solar, he's just going to target down all these medevacs. He's going to do what he can to get as many of them as possible. And he says, okay, the 3rd has been broken. Now is the time to get the 4th base. Now this is the prize. You've mined out of your 3rd. You've not nearly mined out as much as your 4th yet. So let us kill that off. We see the Widowmines, they will get targeted down from Solar there. Of course, Hydras do outrange Widowmines. So the Zerglings are going to get on top of things. 2-2 versus 1-1. So Solar is pretty all in here, but he is in such a dominant position to get on in. But as we see these fights happening, well, he morphs a bunch of Banelings on top of the army of MARU, and I'm not exactly sure that is the best move. But if MARU can't go down the ramp, does it really matter? So now we have a couple Zerglings, a couple Hydras on the 3rd base. 4th base is under fire as well. I believe it has lifted. It has. So MARU here, he's mining off of 2 bases. Now we have a Lurker on the way, +2 attack on the way as well. So it's only a 1 upgrade lead as Hive is on the way. It looks like MARU was able to stabilize, and that's incredible. MARU, the fact that he stabilized. I mean, he had the Zerg in his natural. His 3rd and 4th were both broken. But through great tank positioning and ability to cut back and forward, he was able to stabilize for the moment. But now the 4th base under fire once again. This time, I don't think this one will be saved, because the Hydras are just going to target it down. There we go. 4th base of MARU will go down. So now, this is a 5-base, soon to be a 5-base Zerg against a 3-base Terran. Now, the Terran does have an upgrade lead. Granted, he's not been able to afford through 3. Oh, he's going to catch a bunch of Hydras, though. That is rather unfortunate there. All these Hydras will go down. Now, the lack of concussive shells will mean that one of those Hydras will escape, but you really don't get concussive shells against Zerg unless it's a roach play. So that is understandable there, as those Banelings will not be allowed to play, but 20 more where that came from. Well, I have some when more could be better. Exactly. Now we have Lurkers, or we have Vipers on the way. And MARU, he's cycling around to where he believes there may be another base. He's going to find one. He's going to find none. No base for MARU here. But the Lurker Den is done. Seismic Spines are on the way as well. But he's going to find that he's going to... Why is this Evo Chamber keep being built here? It just keeps dying. Solar likes it there. But, well, it just keeps dying. I don't really know why you would do that. All right, I don't know why he keeps doing that, but he does. And he has lost +2 Carapace and +1 ranged. And man, that +1 is so impactful when we are talking about Lurkers. I mean, +3 Lurkers are scary, +2 Lurkers are scary, but the difference between +0 and +1 with how damage is affected is nice. Widowmine drop here on the left-hand side. And I didn't know you could Okay, so there's a bird position on the Reaper Cliff. I didn't even know you could. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I don't think I've seen that. So now, okay, Maru's going to stim on top of these lurkers here. He's going to look to target some of them down. 2 will go down, but he's going to lose most of his expeditionary force. But and the supplies are different, absolutely, if we look at Maru and Solar here. But Maru's just about even in army supply. 3-3 is now on the way. Nice plus there from Solar, making sure that he does not take too much damage from the Widow Mines. And 5 more lurkers on the way. Rapidly, Solar's going into this position where it's going to be so hard for Maru to actually push in. I mean, we are, how many lurkers are we at the moment? We're sitting here at 7 lurkers, and it's just going to keep growing more and more and more. Now, of course, Solar here, he's going to try to do what he can to swallow up Maru. Swallow the fight, but of course, with the Widow Mines, with the tanks in behind Maru, he's setting up his slow siege now. Setting up this position where he's going to be able to accurately push in, really enforce his will on the map. But with these lurkers off to the side, as the tanks on siege, lurkers are going to burrow on forward. The blinding clouds are going to be on top of everything. And man, so much of Maru's army just evaporated in an instant. In an instant there, as this one tank will eventually go down. But it is not even the important part of the fight here. As Banelings and Zerg is circling around, and GG Solar, he's going to take game number 1. As well, we're going to wait for to come out of replay. We're going to go into replay, and we're going to go out of replay, and we're going to go into replay. And that is a wonderful, wonderful time. Granted, I'm not complaining all that much because these games are a wonderful time. And if you all decide to send me emails, please make them fun, at the very least. Actually, I just realized that this game screen could be spoilers, so we're just going to turn it off. Bye game screen. There's just going to be nothing there. I do not wish to spoil the viewers of the future. Now game 2 is going to load up, so we're going to have to go on. We were online, now we're going to have to go offline, go online, go offline, go on. Yeah, you get the point. Okay, now game number 2 is loading up, and we'll be on Romanticide. Solar with a really good game number 1. Really, like, he played very well in that game, shutting down all of Maru's aggression, just saying, "Look, it's okay. I don't need to lose. I don't need that 4th base at that time. You're only on 2 bases. I can afford to take it again. In a place where I maybe have better creep spread. Took some great fights, but now we're gonna have to see if he can do it again because game number 2, it's all loaded up and ready to go." And here we are in the bottom right, in the blue. Representing NV, Team NV from China, it's MARU. And his opponent in the upper left, in the red, up 1-0 in this series for Kaizi Gaming, it's Solar. As we sit here, getting ready to move on into game number 2, well, there's not a lot to talk about, because when we look at matchups, right, there are some matchups that are dynamic from the get-go. We look at PvP, we look at PvT sometimes, we look at TvT, absolutely. Really, a lot of the mirrors, the matchups are dynamic from the beginning. You have to be paying attention to every second, every part of every build. Make sure you understand what's happening. However, when we look at later things, when we look at, say, TVZ, for example, PVZ, kind of in a similar boat, although there's a notable fork at 2 minutes and 20 seconds, you don't see, you kind of see the same thing over and over again. You see the 16, 18, 17, you see Reaper expand, kind of see the same thing over and over again. So much like you hear Tasos is talking about how, well, probably we shouldn't even talk about the Reaper going in. And then, of course, whenever you don't talk about the Reaper going in, well, the Reaper gets 2 drone kills, and the game might as well be over. Well, that's not the case here, as we do have a Marine for. Well, actually, never mind. Reaper coming out of MARU here. The idea of MARU opening Marine first in a TVZ is just an anathema to everything we know about MARU, to be totally honest. He can get so much done with these Reapers, and really what this is, what these early game things are. And granted, they never get anything done, but it's a warm up. It's saying, hey, player, make sure my hands are warm doing all that. But more importantly, it's an APM check. It's a skill check. It forces Solar to spend some of his attention to make sure that he doesn't lose anything, that makes sure he doesn't die. Nothing that shouldn't have. Oh, did that Reaper jump up there, or was it grenaded up there? I don't know. I don't think you can grenade up cliffs, but that's kind of what it looked like. So anyway, again, this is it's an attention check, right? Because when we talk about StarCraft, there are a couple of different different resources that the players have to use. So the obvious ones: minerals, gas, supply. These are things that are baked into the game. These are things that are evident. These are the things you actually build units with, or that allow you to build units. However, there are more resources in a game of StarCraft than it just minerals, gas, and supply. We look at map control, map agency, map control or agency, the ability to do something in the game, the ability to feel safe on your side of the map, to understand what's happening on the map. That's an incredibly valuable resource that you build units to make use of, but it is not supply in and of itself, or it is not a in-game resource in and of itself. It's a expression of the player's will on the map. There are things like attention. Can you micro at 2 places at once? And part of that's a matter of APM, but part of that's just a matter of, can your brain think that fast? Can you remember that when an Terran attacks in the natural, they're also probably attacking in the main or the third, and position your units appropriately? So these are resources that, doing things like the Reaper micro early on, A, kind of warms up, but B, well, all these things, they force the player to spend some of those resources. They force Solar to not just sit here and drone and inject and follow his build and get there perfectly. And at the highest level, does a Reaper kill it? Does a Reaper doing this, does that really slow Solar down all that much? No, not really. But it might slow down. It might prevent a drone from being built for half a second. And when we look at how much money a drone is worth and all that, I mean, it could compound in 1 or 2 drone differential. And more importantly, it's attempting to force Solar's opponent, or force MARU's opponent, to make a mistake. Because now we're sitting here with 8 Hellions, so more than the usual 6. Do we see a? We do not see an armory on the way, but now the Hellions, they're going to dive on in, and 8 Hellions, that is a rather decent amount. That is not more than the Zerglings can fight here, but now 1 Hellion will go down immediately, and this is really nice micro from Solar here. He's going to get on top of all of them, and, well, 1 will survive, but not for much longer. As, well, it's got about 5 HP left, and the Zerglings are faster than it, so we'll be able to chase it down as it rounds corners. 1 more Zergling bite, and there we go. It does go down, but there's a wall here. Not for much longer, actually not even a full wall. And the Zerglings will not be able to dive on top of those Marines, not for the moment. And now we have, well, a little bit of damage happening. The SCVs will be pulled here, and Solar knows better than to take that fight. I mean, with the SCVs pulled, it's not a fight that he can win. If he can get on top of the Marines by themselves, he can win. If he can get on top of the SCVs by themselves, absolutely. But with the Marines firing on top of the SCVs' heads, yeah, not really going to happen. But now it looks like Solar here, he's getting ready to, actually, so not even, but this is actually pretty cool. So, first of all, he is mining out these minerals. One would expect that's kind of, that is preventing, or what he's doing there is it prevents the push onto his 3rd base. He prevents the tank push there that can be oh so scary, but he's also taking this 4th base. He's not taking the 4th base with the Rich Vespine. That is really difficult to defend. Instead, he's taking this base, which allows him to justify pushing the creep in that position. And these rocks are terrifying. The tank pushes that you can see that get up on top of these rocks and push down the 4th base, well, They are not fun. They are not fun to deal with. As now that the bio is going to step forward, going to kill one queen immediately and remove some of this creep, and that is really all the goal that these reps are trying to do. It is map control, right? It's forcing trades that Solar may not want to make. Because I mean, if Solar had his brothers, he's probably sitting here getting up to 80 drones, 85 drones without a single Zergling being built, and then getting up to 5, just building a base every 30 seconds and just having a good time. But well, MARU, his job here is to force mistakes, because he will be, as one Widowmine will get targeted down immediately, and then we have the backup. Now, a couple Zerglings are going to run forward. That Widowmine will not land on top of anything at all, as MARU is not targeting it, so it will just take the first Zergling that enters its hitbox, or enters its zone of effect. So the Widowmines do go down. These rocks just about die. We saw Solar, well, he knew he had enough to deal with it, even with leaving a couple Zerglings to remove the rocks there. So actually pretty cool move there. Heads up play from Solar, make sure that he does not, well, make sure he's able to get what he wants on the map. Make sure that these rocks go down to allow him to make sure that he's able to keep his 4th base when the next push comes. However, MARU, he's not going for that tank push. He's not going for that tank push that we were talking about. No, he's getting a second factory with a tech lab. For drilling class, he's going for 3 Widowmines at a time. He's going for that mass Widowmine style, and that makes a lot of sense because, of course, this is Mutiling Bane. If you go Mutiling Bane, well, or I should say, you go Widowmines against Mutiling Bane, you go tanks against Hydras. And considering that is the tech path here, and really more than anything, considering the fact he just starts a lot of Zerglings, and he knows what the upgrade situation is. That says like in and of itself. Now we do have Solar coming on in here, going to be able to get on top of this army, and the initial Baneling connections will be decent. There's just too much army of MARU here, and it is off creep, so Solar will have to back up for the moment, but mutas are about to hit the field. And this is about to give Solar some agency that he's been looking for on the map. As there we have 6 mutas looking to move across into the 3rd base. There is no missile turret yet, but it is on the way. Solar can absolutely get on top of here before the missile turret does go down, target the SCV down, so this missile turret is not going to be up for that much longer, which means that, well, more SCVs can die. As 5 workers do go down immediately, we're going to see 6. He's going to target that missile turret down even, so it will be forced to be canceled. And in doing so, well, he is going, well, yeah, I mean, 6 workers deny the missile turret, which allows him to maybe get on in later with those mutas. And more importantly, he has forced the army of MARU home. He has forced him to retreat from his ways, as that is a rather tricksy Widowmine in the brush. And it's gonna, well, I mean, it's just gonna hit the mutas and kill one muta. We'll trade his life for it, but oh no, it won't. Solar thought he had killed it. I am not really sure, but that Widowmine will live to fight another day, and well, a Widowmine not dying for a muta, absolutely a worthwhile trade. Looks like another Widowmine does go off, and Solar will be forced back here because, well, he just can't afford to take any damage at this point. The mutas are all low. He's honestly, he doesn't have a lot of them. So, of course, there's MARU pushing on in the main base here, into the middle of the map, and clearing off a decent amount of creep. But now we have a Zergling, Baneling, muta flock coming on in here. The mutas, they're going to do what they can to maybe bust this wall down. The Baneling should be able to complete that as the wall does burn, but MARU is aware of things. We see this minefield on top of the 4th base. This is going to be incredibly difficult for Solar to attack into. Okay, Hive is done. 3-3 is on the way here. We should see an Ultralisk Cavern coming up sooner rather than later. And Solar, he's in a good position. He's sitting here at 91 workers. His upgrades are well positioned, are well timed, and now he's going to be able to jump on top of his army, kill the majority of it. But he has to be so careful moving on into this minefield here. Now with the mutas, he can of course one volley the Widowmines down. It looks like MARU was moving on the left-hand side, but Solar on top of things. He has insane creep spread. He owns pretty much his entire half of the map. And yes, the band through the middle is something that the Zerg often has, but man, getting the creep spread that far south, that far north, those are things that you don't always see, and it's always impressive to see when it does happen. As now we do have Zerglings, they're going to run on forward, and yeah, there we go. The Zergling splits, doing a really good job, and he's just cleaning up Widowmines. As Widowmines, of course, being made 2 to 3 at a time, depending on how MARU is feeling at the moment. Zergling counterattack on the right-hand side. This is pretty cool. And actually no, it's not going to be that much of a difference. The 2 Zerglings there are not really going to make a whole lot, but if you can draw your opponent up to the right because there's that army there, and meanwhile swoop in on the left-hand side, for example, well, maybe that's something you can do to draw MARU's army out of position. But Unfortunately, it was not timed just perfectly. And now, actually, missed a turret in the wall. That is not something you see all that often. I know the Widowmine is going to go off on the mutas, but it will lose its life in exchange. But this run is not going to happen. Meanwhile, this fifth base that MARU is going for, well, it's going to get surrounded. But yeah, Solar, he's trying to miss once again. Widowmine shots are going to go off. Bailey's are going to connect on top of everything. And this has been a pretty excellent trade here for Solar. Now, it's not game ending, but again, these are trades. These are things that Solar's trying to do to maybe find an advantage in this game. He's going to run on in once again, kill off all the Marines, back off. There we have this fifth base is burning. We should see some SCVs landed to repair it, but none yet. Granted, it's got about, what, 70 seconds left before it does go down, so yeah, what is the rate? I don't know what the rate that Terran buildings burn at. Just know it's going to go down at some point. The Baneling shot is going to knock off a decent amount of Banelings there. So once again, this will be forced to lift, and this may be its death knell. It's only got about, only has 100 HP left. There are no SCVs, not ready yet. There we go. The mutas will target it down. MARU back on 4 bases once again, but well, he still has 89 workers. Actually, he may want to start losing some of those sooner rather than later, as he's able to get up his bases. But here we have the army of Solar looking to push in, and it's going to back up. This creep spread from Solar is just insane. Now, people have described Cyril's creep spread as evil, Scarlet's as miraculous, but yeah, Solar's creep spread is just insane in this game. He pretty much has it's incredibly difficult to get creep up on this high ground because of these rocks, and because of getting vision up there. But he owns pretty much everything else. He has not allowed MARU to really get on the map at all, as he just expands everywhere. He has every base that he can rationally be expected. Well, I guess he can take the bottom left or the upper right, but he's pretty much every base that he can rationally be expected to take. He's sitting here on 91 workers at 5k 2k. His bank is massive. Mutas are doing a great work here at that. Well, what am I going to go off? And the second one, and now we have some snipes on these mutas. So good trade there, of course. Well, generally you see snipes used on things like ultralisks, on corruptors, on lurkers, on these incredibly valuable units, and you don't really think about mutas like that because, well, mutas, you value a lot of them. However, mutas are also very expensive and worth sniping, especially if they take a little bit of damage. Now the mutas will get on top of this Liberator. The Liberator is not going to be able to defend this mineral line. And notice here, a couple Zerglings have split off to kill this Ghost, so there are going to be no snipes there. Now, do we have Ghost Cloak? I don't believe so. The Banelings, they're going to come running on. Actually, we do. And Ghosts just shred Banelings here. Now, of course, this third base is going to be lifted for the moment, and the Ghost will get targeted down, but there's just no detection here. So MARU, it's not the best fight, but it's not a terrible one, as all the mutas will go down as well, and suddenly this is a really good fight. But meanwhile, Solar, on the right-hand side, he's going to take out the fourth base of MARU, and suddenly, well, I'm talking about good fights. You will kill all the mutas, but this base is lifted. This base has died. Only 52 workers left on the map here for MARU, but, well, it's things we've seen from Bjorn. Yeah. 50 workers, 45 is the sweet spot for the Terran late game. Terran gets like 140, 150 army supply. And suddenly that is really hard. That is really hard for the Zerg to make any sort of army composition that deals with that. Especially when it's like 140 supply of like 4 Marauder. And we run by coming in once again on top of this base. Now, there are a couple Widowmines here, but Solar on top of things, making sure he splits off that. Meanwhile, Maru's going to try to get on top of this base, and looks like he may be able to get it off. But okay, actually, no, with the surround, this should get cleaned up as well as this counterattack does go in. But the Ghost with Cloak will kill things off. And these Widowmines are just such a scary minefield in the late game. Banelings are going to crash onto Marauders and Thors, a nice big fat wall that is going to make it so difficult for the Banelings to actually make their connection. Solar has creep on top of the base of MARU. Granted, it looks like it will be cleaned up, but unfortunately for Solar, he was not able to make this lift, which of course means it would pretty much never go back down. MARU is able to hold his position, still on 4 bases, and actually mining from 2 of them, and plenty of mules to be able to make sure that he extracts as much mineral wealth as possible. So MARU, he's going up to about 140 supply now, as we do see run-bys coming on the right-hand side, but that's not really the important. This is the important base. It looks like it will be forced to lift once again. Mutas, there are just not really enough of them there to really kill that off, but Solar, he's going to try to get on top of these Ghosts, and honestly, Banelings don't do a great job against Ghosts, because they are not light, and they have about 150 HP. But anyway, now we're going to have the Ultras shelling away at this fourth base, but unfortunately, There is a repair, and there are so many ghosts on the way. 18 workers do go down. But Solar, his army will fall apart once again, and this fourth base is so, or I guess this third base now, is so close to Solar's bases that MARU, immediately after fighting his opponent off, can just go take a base. And the base does go down. So MARU here on really in a good position, on the true aggressive stance for the first part really in this game, since Solar killed that stuff early on. Oh, that is a wayward Ultralisk. As now MARU, he's gonna stim on forward. There are a decent amount of Banelings on this map, absolutely, but not enough to be able to kill all these Marauders, not easily. As MARU's gonna split backward off of creep. The Liberators on top of everything as well. Baneling shots are gonna go off on everything. The meters are all gonna get sniped down, and MARU, he will not be denied, although it looks like he's gonna back up for the moment. We have a Zergling counterattack coming on in here once again. MARU's gonna have to deal with that, and more importantly, he's just gonna wait for his army to consolidate once again, and well, consolidate it he shall. He has so many ghosts. Sitting here on 11 ghosts. He has more ghosts than Solar has mutas, and that is a scary situation. We talked about that bank that Solar had earlier on when he was at like 5k, 2k. Look at it now. It is no bank whatsoever. As we do see that even the income lead goes away as Solar. I should say his mules will drop, but there we go. There we go. It is back. And now Solar, he's near max once again. Now his army supply is not all that much bigger than MARU. Actually, was below MARU for most of this. But he does have a better economy. If we look at how mining has been happening in this game, he has had a much better economy. But well, there's more to the story of a game than that. If we look at resources lost, Solar nearly doubling the resources lost that MARU has. And we see snaps on these mutas once again. They're all gonna go down. MARU with the quick fingers, he's gonna snipe all the mutas. They're all gonna go down, and suddenly Solar just loses what, 1,000? Loses 1,000 more than he already had. So much more mutas on the way, of course, because I mean mutas are a useful thing. There's a big Zergling Ultralisk Baneling run by on the left hand side, but MARU says, look, screw that, I'm gonna go kill your base, and he will go in, snipes on top of all the Ultralisk. Widowmine shots are going to be incredible here, and MARU will not be denied. This fight, Solar will not be able to hold it, and this base will go down. Once again, I mean, these Zerglings, these Ultras, they will eventually be taken out. There are Liberators here, there are Widowmines. There's like Planetary, so that's not really going to work. Meanwhile, Solar, he's going for a full 360-degree surround here. And that it may be his opportunity. That may be the option he's looking for, but he will not be able to capture all the ghosts. The Widowmines should all burrow. Actually not. Looks like MARU's on move command for the moment. Now the Widowmines are going to burrow, but not get all of the Banelings. And now the mutas, they're going to get sniped down again. And this is not... Yep, there we go. All the mutas, they're going to go down. As a couple of Zerglings do find their way into MARU's outlying base there. But again, these are not good fights for Solar. These snipes are just being used to incredible effect. And how many mutas have died? 47 mutas have died in this game. That is... so many minerals, so much gas, and yeah, Solar is mining more at the moment, but I mean, he's lost this base. He's lost this base. This base, he's mining 34 out of 16, just run out of money. This base, 10 out of 12. Natural, really just no mining here whatsoever. Nothing in the main, not a whole lot in the third base as well. So now he's gonna go crush on top of it, and the mutas may be able to kill this planet or this orbital, but it looks like with the Liberator showing up, that will not be the case, as the mutas are already a little bruised. And now we're sitting here. MARU, he's up 30 army supply. He's been able to really claw his way back into this game on 40 workers for the last, I don't even know how long, but 3-3 is an incredibly cost-efficient thing. Solar, he's going to come crushing on in. That Baneling shot, or that Widowmine shot, is just going to kill all the Banelings. Solar looking for this round, but the splits are going to be incredibly good. Solar's army supply is falling through the floor, and MARU, on no economy for the entire game, he's going to take it. And with that, wow, what a game. 20 minutes on Romanticide. MARU just doing an incredible job there. So once again, I need to log in. All right, so, well, MARU tying the series up 1-1. Now we're getting ready to move on to game number 3. It will be on Pillars of Gold. A little bit of a bigger map. And man, if that is anything like what we saw, if this next map is anything like we saw on Romanticide on Oxide, I am absolutely here for it. MARU and Solar just with some incredible games that we have that I am so happy to have the opportunity to cast. So now we're sitting here waiting once again for the replays to load. Because of course, previous batch replays don't work as well. But hey, Pillars of Gold, it's just about loaded up. Just about ready to go. All right, well, I should say I am loaded in to game number 1 here, or game number 3 here on Pillars of Gold. Let's see, score is tied up 1-1. Let's go. And here we are spawning in the bottom right. In the red, representing Kaisi Gaming, it's Solar. And his opponent in the upper right, in the blue, for Team NV, it's MARU. So our question, once again, we saw 2 incredibly long games. It was a 18-minute game and a 20-minute game, I think, for games number 1 and 2. They were epic. They were incredible. They really showed us exactly what these players can do, but they were long. Do we see, now that we're sitting here at 1-1, this is a best of 5, so players still have a game to give. Do we see them go and do something a little bit more aggressive? Do something a little cheekier, maybe go for a 35 drone roach push? Or even a 19 drone roach push. I guess that is viable. I mean, it's Pillars of Gold. It's a longer map. I wouldn't exactly expect to see it here. 2 base builds that MARU could do. Do we see MARU? I don't think we see MARU throw out mech. I don't think I've ever seen. No, I've seen MARU play mech against Protoss. I don't think I've ever seen him play against Zerg though. But anyway, there are options. There are opportunities, and the question is, how do these players avail themselves of it? The Reaper's going to go on in once again, and really, again, shouldn't get much done. I mean, one of these Zerglings is 1 shot away from death, but MARU is actually rather persistent and getting some good damage on the drone. But again, we have a 4 cancel, and even that, that's more damage than MARU got in the previous couple games. That is what, 18 minerals that would be otherwise spent towards a faster drone or something like that. So little bits of damage. Tiny bits of damage that players with really good Reaper micro can, of course, can enforce on their opponent's side of the map. Again, not a whole lot gonna happen here. And MARU, he's going for Hellions in this game number 3. He did go for 8 Hellions in game number 2. It really didn't work out, but he was able to fight it back late. Game number 1, he got like 2 Hellions, I think it was, before going into the. Well, no, he didn't get any at all because it was a 2-on-1. But hey, it looks like we're going to see some Hellbat shenanigans coming on here from our in game number 3. Armory coming down. And in all honesty, I really don't like most Hellbat builds. I mean, yes, they can catch an opponent off guard. Yes, they can kill things, but Zergs at this day and age, they build so many queens. They get a decently timed Baneling Nest normally. That honestly, I mean, it doesn't really do all that much. It does not, Hellbats don't tend to do that much at all. Now, granted, there are definitely games where it can happen, but on the level, as we look at kind of in general, whether these do things or they don't, it doesn't really work all that well. Now, maybe with a, well, maybe with these 4 Marines that are joining up, maybe that will be the extra DPS that will make this work, is that we do have only 4 queens here to start, which means the Hellbat can get on top of some queens, start burning some transfuse energy before anything can really start to happen here. And now one queen is so low, and I would like, man, MARU, if even more incredible than it already was, would of course use the Reaper to bounce the queen back. But that is not what's going to happen. That's just maybe a little bit too much AVM barrier here. But now the Hellbats, they're on top of the queens, and yes, the queens, they do micro forward. They do get the medevac here, and that it does mean that there is a timer on this push. But so many of the queens are going to go down. 2 queens will go down. 3 queens go down. 4 queens go down. And yep, that is all that is going to happen. But if we look at, as this stops for the moment, 22 Zerglings and 4 queens for 6 Hellbats, 4 Marines, and a medevac. Absolutely a great trade there for Solar. The queens, yes. Or I should say, yes, MARU did not end the game. Yes, MARU did not kill 20 workers and just ended the game. But killing that many queens means there are only 4 queens on the map. Now a Banshee is on the way. Where is the... There should have been 1. There it is. Okay, so it's now on the way here, but it's not going to be an immediate follow-up, which means of course, by the time the Banshees hit the other side of the map, well, there will be those 3 extra queens going back up to 7 once again. So that timing that MARU may have had, it's not really going to be there much anymore. But there are 8 more. There are more Hellions on the map here. So this time it's going to be Hellbat, Hellbat Banshee, and the big thing, the big deal. I don't believe Solar has seen the gas count in the natural. So if I'm Solar here and I'm looking at this game, saying you have a Banshee. You have, well, you did a Hellbat push. And then you're coming in with more Hellbats? Or actually a few Banshees here. This looks like mech to me, and Pillars of Gold is a very good mech map. So this is a pretty good bamboozle coming in from MARU here, maybe trying to convince his opponent that this is mech when it is absolutely not what is happening. However, these Hellbats really shouldn't get a whole lot done. The Banshees running on into the main base, they might be able to get a little bit more. There's no queen in the main, but well, queens are already rotating. They are already cycling around, and with the spores in each mineral line, it's going to be rather difficult for these Banshees to get too much done. I mean, they're going to, of course, 2 Banshees do one shot a drone, so they can get something, but they're not going to get, say, what we've seen Beyond do on occasion, where he gets like 20 workers done with a Banshee. Really, just because he's that persistent with it, but also because of events that happened earlier on. I was thinking MARU might be able to make that happen when he took out 4 queens, but again, the Banshees were just a little bit too late. And that's not to say that MARU missed his timings or macroed poorly. It's just the overall timing in the game. Now, of course, we have a Spire on the way here for Solar. +1 Carapace is done, so he will have his upgrades ahead of the Terran player. And that's what he's going to look to leverage here to be able to make sure that he can defend his 4th base appropriately. Now, these Banshees will be aware of this, but the Banshees are incredibly low on hit points. They will not be able to do a whole lot. Maybe pick away at this hatchery just a little. But 11 HP. All that jazz. But this time, well, this is just step 1 of many. Oh, looks like MARU was building a command center and decided he didn't want to do that. Instead, he's going to add 3 more barracks. This is going into an 8 racks all-in territory. Well, this is going into an 8 racks all-in from MARU here, as he's turned up the aggression in this game number 3. He said, look, you know what? It was too hard for me to win game number 2. No, I really want to lean into you here. I want to be able to deny this 4th base and then just snowball this into a victory. But this Zergling run by is going to have other things to say about that, as they will not get on into the main base, but they will get into the natural. They have room into the 3rd base, and MARU's going to be forced to go back in its entirety. Now, I would like to see, it would have been nice to see some Zerglings maybe get onto the 3rd base, see the 3 barracks coming on down, letting Solar know exactly what Solar is up, or what MARU is up to here, because he is not aware of that. Not yet, but of course, the mutas, now they have time to move across the map. They do not have to be defensive. That Zergling counterattack drew the entire army of MARU back home. And now there are Banelings. Baneling speed on the way. So now the mutas will find this. There is no, I repeat, no missile turret in the middle line here. So more and more ASCVs are going to go down, and I believe he also saw the 3 barracks that are the barracks that were being built. He saw 2 of them, and that should be more than enough to let him know exactly what's happening here. It is not early enough for there to be those additional barracks and a 4th base. So again, 8 racks all in, coming in from MARU here off of 3 bases. So he wants to make sure that, well, this game just doesn't go as long as the previous 2. Not that we know whether that's going to happen or not, but eventually you run out of base. Eventually you run out of money as a Terran doing 8 racks. And all Solar has to do here, now that he knows of things, maybe take a 5th base eventually, but build a lot of banelings, build a lot of zerglings, progress your tech appropriately, and well, just keep battering MARU back until he runs out of money. Getting decently active with these mutas is going to be nice. Make sure that he is able to keep MARU back. And again, MARU, he wants to be aggressive here. The whole point of this is you lean into the Zerg. You get your supply so high, you just get so many Marines in particular, that, well, you make it incredibly difficult you make it hard for the Zerg to resupply, to be able to hold that off. And MARU, he's getting there, right? His army supply is climbing. He's yes, actually, no, this is the Clem 8 racks actually, where we don't see any add-ons on these 3 additional barracks. The goal is here, you're just trying to get that production out as soon as possible. So I think we're going to see MARU really try to lean into things when 2-2 is done. That is the timing. He may not even decide to get 3-3, to be totally honest. Sometimes you see Terrans do that, sometimes you do not. Just depending on how they feel their position is in the game, how much damage they feel like they have to get done. And make no mistake about it, yes, MARU is on 60 workers. Yes, he has 3 bases, but this is absolutely all in here. As we do see him tearing down the same wall that the Zerg wants to tear down. That is, you would expect him to just try to abuse that instead, but no, he's going to tear it down. Mr. Zergbachev, tear down this wall. As now MARU's going to come rushing on forward. And we're going to see just a massive surround here coming in from Solar from every flank. And the Banelings are going to come rushing forward. There are so many Banelings here, but it looks like it's not. Yeah, it actually will be enough. MARU is going to be swept from the face of the earth with his first push, but now we have reinforcements coming on in. And MARU's going to stim on forward. 2-2, of course, is done. And that was the break from Solar. And yes, he does find himself in a good position out of that up 16 supply. But he did not end the Terran push. And that's kind of what you're looking to do here on the 8 racks. Although this one, yeah, this cleanup will end the push for the time being. MARU can't be too happy about that. As now the meters are on top of these medevacs, that means MARU's gonna lose some medevacs as well. And yeah, the tanks are sieging up here. Solar can't go too much farther. Actually, unless he can, is he gonna get on top of everything? The tank's gonna go down. Mutas are getting targeted down. Mutas are dying, which means, well, medevacs aren't. But now Solar, he's on top of this 3rd base. Gonna be able to. Bailey's actually gonna connect on so many SCVs. Their 7 SCVs do go down, and MARU, he's on 50 workers. He only has 3 bases. His main is just about to mine out. I mean, look how many minerals there are left here on the remaining patches of these 4 remaining mineral patches. Natural, muled as well. So, I mean, MARU has to get something done. I mean, of course, he can eventually lift this command center to his 4th, but that is not a planetary. That is a lot harder to hold. But again, we do see the strength of 12 Marines at a time. As MARU, despite having his army crushed here just seconds ago. Oh no, the mutas, they committed for that tank, but I don't think that's what they wanted to do there. It's going to be a tank for 2 or 3 mutas. Ooh, that does not feel good. But now the mutas will figure out where the eBays are, but they are just trapped here until the end of time. But for quite a while now, if I'm Solar here, I'm attacking into the 3rd base, right? MARU's army here is on the left-hand side. If you just kind of occasionally keep putting your mutas in that corner, well, you can just ravage the 3rd base, force the army of MARU to go away. But now we do have Liberators here doing all their splash damage. And actually, no, Solar says, no. I know where your army is. That means I can kill it. As the Medevacs are going to go forward, a drop will go down, and Solar's here up 50 supply all of a sudden. But MARU, his 3-3 is on the way. It is halfway done. And there is that traditional timing, where your opponent has 2-2, you have 3-3 as the Terran, and it doesn't matter how the game has gone from that point, because your army is just that much better. The upgrades are that incredibly powerful. And that is what MARU is waiting for in this game. Now Solar, well, he's still in a good spot. We see no semblance of a hive on the way, no infestation pit even, so he needs to make sure that he is able to keep up with the Joneses, keep up his tech. He's here on 5 bases, right? He has the economy. He's had the economic lead for 99% of this game. However, a game is more than economy, although economy is a good portion of it. And actually, Maru's going to catch a couple mutas here too. So again, Maru, he's trying to trade it as efficiently as possible. So it looks like that's interesting. So he added add-ons to these three barracks, but he's adding Marauders. I guess he thinks Solar is actually moving into Hive Tech behind this, which would make sense. I mean, it is 14 minutes into this game. His opponent has 5 bases. Makes sense, but that is not what Solar's just sticking on Zergling Baneling, or Mutiling Bane here. And that's actually pretty good in the context of a bunch of Marauders starting to come out. Although we have Thors coming out as well, and well, with the Baneling change, Marauders, Thors, they are so good. Even better against Banelings than they already were. Now we Solar, he's going to come screening in, coming really in from one position, but now we do have the flanks coming on in here. Banelings just doing what they can to get on top of all of the Marines. Now Maru does have 3-3, which means his Marines, his Marauders, they fight so incredibly well, but now he's down 30 army supply. Everything has been forced to lift, which means everything is going to get shot down from the sky here as Banelings once again come crashing in, and GG Solar, he's going to take it. Wow. Maru, he tried so hard leaning in to that 8 racks with all of his might, but it felt like it maybe just hit a little bit too late. Solar, he played the right game. He had an upgrade lead for quite a while, so it was rather hard for Maru to push into 2-2 Mutiling Bane when he had 1-1. So he had to wait until 2-2 was done, at which point Solar was on 80 drones on 4 to 5 bases. And Solar, his macro was great, his engagements were great. His Banelings just kept hitting Marines and not Marauders. And, well, he swept Maru from the face of the earth in an incredible game. Hey, we got at least one more here. We got game number 4. And get going. And this one will be on a map. As I'm waiting for my screen to go from black to loading. And here we go. Game number 4 will be on Lightshade. This is the one map that Cure plays mech. This is the one map that Clem plays mech. What if we're going to see Maru do the same? But anyway, game number 4, excuse me. It's all loaded in. Let's go. And here we are, spawning in the bottom right. In the blue, for NV. Looking to tie this series up, take us to game number 5. It's Maru. And his opponent, excuse me, in the upper left, in the red, on match points, it's Solar. Actually, this is more than match point for Solar here, because I believe this was from the winner's match.
1,200 DPI.
I have no idea why that made that sound. It's not a setting I have, but anyway. Yes, this was from the winner's match. So winner here moved on to the playoff stage of the ASUS ROG Online Cup. That is absolutely something worth fighting for, something worth striving for here. The game did mean something. So now my mouse all kinds of messed up. There we go. All fixed. And now we're sitting here. Solar once again doing that 1 out of 3 gas, so he's gonna take a little bit delayed speed, but it doesn't really matter. Not in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the day, he's still getting speed before 4 minutes. Still gonna be able to deal with the Hellions. It's okay. It is, and on the flip side, he gets faster drones. So pretty cool seeing tiny innovations like this, even after what 6 years of Legacy of the Void, 10 total, 11 total, 10, 11. Well, yeah, no, I guess this StarCraft's 10 years of StarCraft 2 being played. We still see these tiny innovations, these tiny little manipulations, these tiny little build order efficiencies that get you that much more. And well, of course, you know, if you're sitting here, if you're watching this game and you're, you know, a 3K Zerg or something, maybe you just want to do something. Actually, you know what? This build order is actually probably better for a 3K Zerg, because generally, you know, there are some build orders that have you put workers into gas, put workers out, take workers out of gas, into gas, out of gas, and that can be a little bit of micro if you're learning the game, if you're slower from an APM perspective. And I do like look at the Zerglings here. They're just gonna trap the Reaper, and MARU will be forced out. No scouting for you, not from that position. But anyway, but sitting here just being able to say, yeah, I'm gonna be 1 out of 3 on gas, and yep. Oh, actually no, Stolar, he's gonna get the Reaper. That is not. That almost never happens. But MARU got a little bit more aggressive, and he ran into 2 queens on creep, and he lost the Reaper, and that is not something you see happening all that much at all. It looks like MARU here. Game number 3, or sorry, game number 4, but he's back against the wall. What does he do? There's a fusion core on the way. This is not, I mean, this was all the rage about 9 months ago, back in the spring of 2020, the 2019, before the battlecruiser got nerfed a little. But it was all the rage, and well, after the queen got nerfed too. So this was all the rage for a bit before Zerg players just kind of figured it out. And Terran players figured out maybe there are better ways to play this matchup, but that's what we're going to see here. And builds are builds are strong for a couple of different reasons. Sometimes they're strong because they just hit all the efficiencies and they'll let you get exactly what you want, and you sell macro, and it's great. Sometimes they're strong because they hard counter an opponent. You know, if you're going, your opponent's going, say, 3 hatch before pool, and you're cannon rushing them, it's a hard counter. And sometimes they're strong because they are out of meta. Sometimes they're strong because your opponent knows how to deal with it. Actually, it looks like Solar does scout this the fusion core coming in. Looks like it's strong because your opponent knows how to deal with it, but has not really dealt with it in like several months. Or they've dealt with it in like 2 games in the last whatever, and certainly not against pro level play. So while they rationally know how to deal with what you're handing to them, well, it doesn't happen all that much. And MARU, he's actually doing it. The Mad Lad. MARU is playing mech, ladies and gentlemen. This is the only map that Cure plays mech on. This is the only map that Clem plays mech on. And MARU, he's doing it as well. This is going to be a fun game. I don't think I've ever seen MARU play mech. If I do, it has been very, well, against Zerg, I should say. If I have, it is rare and uncommon. Now we do have the battlecruiser teleporting on into the main base here. And the queens, of course, will be forced back. So Spire immediately as a response here from Solar. But one queen will die immediately. And now we have the Hellions. They're going to dive on into the natural as the queens have been forced into the main base to deal with this battlecruiser. But man, Solar, he's doing a good job for the moment. More and more Zerglings on the way, and we do have roaches out. So this is going to get nothing. This is going to get nothing done. This is going to get. Okay, I guess the 3 Hellions. Okay, never mind. There is the mineral line that is open. That is the one mineral line that Solar was not exactly defending at the moment. Now Zerglings are on top of this, and yeah, there we go. So six drones do go down, but 6 drones for a missed battlecruiser. Yeah. Or losing 6 drones to defend a battlecruiser. That's and 1 queen. I think that's a pretty solid opener there. And now Solar says, "Look, this is a small map. You did not get what you want. You just have a bunch of Hellions. You're not going to get your 3rd base right now. That is not allowed. Now the tank will siege up in this really good siege high ground position, which means that it's about here that the roaches cannot get any closer than it, because the tanks just shred roaches, not battlecruiser here as well. So this push from Solar, well, it's just going to equalize worker damage. 6 SCVs will go down, and actually we're going to have Hellions chasing roaches, which is not a common sight at all. Now we have 6 Corruptors on the way, and I think what we're going to see Solar do here, and this is something we see Rogue do a decent amount, is when dealing with battlecruiser openings, well, you do a couple things, but most importantly, you overbuild Corruptors. You only need like 5 or 6 really to deal with battlecruiser, but you go up to like 10, 12. And then you do that to absolutely invalidate the battlecruiser tech. And then you just dive them on top of the main base or something. You dive them on top of a command center of the Terran player, and you snipe it. And you make use of how powerful Caustic Spray can be. Just kill off the Terran's hopes of having an economy after you've batted away their battlecruiser tech. But now the battlecruisers once again going in. This time, of course, they've not teleported into a base. Instead, they've set up their teleport to be able to make sure that they get out. So when the Corruptors get on top of them, they can Yamato to kill them off and then go away. So we're going to see, well, the Corruptors will engage, and we're going to see some Yamatos coming in a second. Actually, no, he's going to be forced to teleport out because Yamato did not finish enough, and now Yamato teleport out. But hey, the Corruptors are here. There are 7 of them, going up to a grand total of 8. And behind this, it's going to be, looks like Roach Ravager as the tech of choice here for Solar. And that's not going to be the easiest thing that Solar's going to be able to use to push on in here to actually break Maru's third base. I mean, look at this SimCity. We have missile turrets. We have sensor towers on the way. We have these random E-bays that in part they allow for missile turrets. Yeah, but more importantly, what they do is that they are SimCity. They are things that the Zerg AI will attack before the army of the Terran player. So Maru, with his tanks spread all around everywhere, well, it's going to be a rather difficult position to break. He's sitting here on 26 out of 16 workers because he's on 81 workers already. He has this incredible economy, and now he can't bring all of it to bear yet. He needs to get into he needs to get his 4th base. But when you're the Zerg player and you're trying to figure out how to beat mech, and you realize your opponent has a bigger economy than you, and their army will eventually be better than yours. That's not the best feeling. As we do have 3 battlecruisers here, they're going to start sharking around, killing whatever they can. I mean, they're not exactly the most useful. I mean, they're useful in straight up fight, absolutely, but they're not what you really need from a mech army. Now the Corruptors will find them, so they're going to Yamato 3 and teleport out. And of course, the Yamato does mean that, well, less likelihood that any of them die, but the 4th base from Maru is coming on down here. There are only 2 tanks here to defend for the moment, and it looks like Solar is aware of this. Running on in with a bunch of Roach Ravagers, trying to crush on in, but the Biles are not going to land where they need to at first, and so many of these Roaches are going to die. But now we have it. The tanks are landed. Well, the tanks have been dove upon. One of these battlecruisers will go down. They have no teleport left, and now with the Corruptors in the sky, this 4th base should just go down. And Solar here sitting at double the army supply of his opponent. And sometimes you say, hey, you know, it's a mech game. That's kind of expected. But when I look at the position that Solar is in this game, even more so than the actual supply differential, he's in such a good position to make use of the supply that he has. The tanks, well, they're all sieged up on the 3rd base. Yes, there are a couple Cyclones. But there's not a whole lot here that really deals with the Roach Raptor. And well, Solar, he's found his good position as Miles are going to come raining on in, raining hellfire from above. As now the Corruptors, they're just going to sit on top of these battlecruisers. We do see some repairs, but now the Roaches, they have penetrated the natural. And yes, there is mag field accelerator that shreds these Corruptors. But we're going to see some Biles going down. And Solar's going to be forced to back up for the moment, but not for long. Now, the good news for Maru, he did not lose his 4th base. He's going to be able to retake that once again. He lost a bunch of SCVs, but he was on 80 SCVs anyway, so it doesn't really matter all that much. As the lockups are going to continue to happen. The Corruptors are going to jump on top of this battlecruiser. Once again, we do see a Yamato there. But the Roaches, they're on top of all of the Cyclones, and that is the Cyclone's worst nightmare. Cyclones are great against the Roaches until they get put in a corner, and as 1980s epic would say, is you don't put baby in a, nobody puts baby in a corner. Roaches looking to do some dirty dancing of their own if they try to jump on top of these Cyclones, but the Cyclones will be forced back. And once again, the 4th base has been forced to lift. Solar here, plus 70 supply on his opponent. And the Cyclones, they are in a corner. They're getting backed up and backed up and backed up. Now, it looks like Solar not too interested in getting too deep in there. He says, no, no, no. The 3rd base is now undefended. I have been putting so much pressure on the natural on the 4th that suddenly there's nothing in the 3rd base. So we're going to see much more SCV start going down here. The Biles are going to rain down on top of, well, they're going to miss the tanks. They'll rain down on top of everything else. And the Cyclones are starting to die. SCVs are dying. The 3rd base will be forced to lift rather soon. Actually, it looks like it doesn't even matter. There's nothing mining here. And Solar's just going to back up once again. He's going to reconsolidate his forces. And lean in once again. Of course, he has +2 attack. His Roaches hit like a freight train. And these Corruptors have been able to stay alive so they can just fight the battlecruiser back wherever it shows its face. Now we do have Roaches Raptors coming on in once again. for perhaps the final time, as Solar's going to get in and get the biles on top of these tanks in the defense. One tank does go down, a second one does go down. There's one tank left here in the defense, and, well, a couple on the high ground. But very little left. Battlecruiser is going to teleport away. Looks like the Battlecruiser teleporting into the 4th base of Solar here. Solar, he has taken the map. As he just continues to lean on things. As the Corruptors realize there's nothing for them to fight, well, they're just going to corrosive bile, or corrosive spray the 3rd base down. And let's do matter to show exactly what is happening. What is happening is Solar, or MARU, has been broken. It is a slow death. It is coming in drips and drabs, but if we look at the economic situation behind here, well, Solar, he's on 81 workers. He has almost the entire map. He has just more and more and more roaches. But as I say that, MARU, I mean, he's going to be able to beat this back for the moment. He, of course, sitting here on 2-1 upgrades. His Cyclones, they don't die nearly as easily as they used to. Or sorry, 2-2 upgrades. They don't die nearly as easy as they used to. And the tanks do tremendous damage. So, MARU has potentially stabilized, actually. Solar has hardcore committed to this style. This is his ride or die. This is how he wins the game or he loses the game. It's Roach Ravager Link. That is what he's got to do. Now, there are plenty of Cyclones here, and with Blue Flame has been done for a little bit, so it's so hard for Lynx to get this around here to make sure that the vials land where they need to. And Maru's going to be able to defend his 3rd base here. Yes, 7 more SCVs do go down, but he has been rebuilding them. Sitting here on 4 SCVs at a time, 52 SCVs total. All right, so now this 4th command, the command center has been forced to lift so often that MARU didn't even bother, but now the tanks haven't found all the biles are going to drop on top of everything, and once again the Cyclones, they're getting pushed back into a corner. They're being forced to fight, and they do not want to do that. They want to be able to lock on and run, but they are not able to do that whatsoever, as now the Cyclones, they're going to lock on everything but GG. MARU realizes he does not have enough, and Solar is going to move on to the playoffs.